Hey, ladies. Ooh, I'm looking a mess right now. Hello. Welcome to Black Women Making Money. It's your girl Cherie here with a Friday night live. Friday night live. So let me play my little intro commercial and we're going to get started. Welcome to Black Women Making Money. We are the home of the upwardly mobile Black woman. For exclusive content and invitations to our Inner Circle Zoom meetings, which happen on a monthly basis, you can sign up for free for our email newsletter at bwmakingmoney.com. That's bwmakingmoney.com. Hey, ladies. Welcome to Black Women Making Money. It is a Friday evening edition. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you liked the video. Please give the video a thumbs up. Please feel free to share tonight's information with regards to the topic of the day. Saw it on Erica's, feed first, Erica Williams, and I was like, that's interesting. But whenever I read a headline, especially a headline like this, I'm like, I need to read the entire article. And so, first of all, I am a mortgage loan officer. I am an insider. So that's what I put in insider's perspective. But I am not Navy Federal. I don't work at Navy Federal. Full disclosure, I do have a Navy Federal account. I bank at Navy Federal, but I am a broker. So I am here because I finally had a chance to read the CNN article. And I have a perspective that a lot of people, I don't think, are sharing. So I wanted to come and give you an inside perspective with regards to these mortgage loans. Hello, Coach K, who is dropping by. Good to see you. Hello, Malika. Good evening. Good evening. Everybody, as you all are coming in, again, please like the video for me, share the live stream, especially if you want to buy a house, you want to live the American dream. We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about that from an insider's perspective and all of the additional pieces of information that I can give you about Navy Federal denying Black borrowers, some of the things I saw in the article, some of the things I want to suggest to you if you're buying your first house, if you're buying your next house, and also talk about the Fed, who said that they may reduce rates 3 times in 2024. That's what they're hinting at. And there are actually people making bets there are people making bets. They bet on whether or not the Fed is going to increase or decrease interest rates. It's like a real thing. Um, we're going to talk about what the Fed said yesterday. And I also have a super cool chart for you with regards to the cost of buying homes that most of you may find fascinating. So, yeah, try other lenders. I'm gonna kind of break down Kay. I'm gonna break down some of the misconceptions that people have when it comes to things like pre-approval letters and things like that. Um, One of the issues that came up in the CNN article is the fact that there were two families that they highlighted in their stories, and they basically said we had pre-approval letters, and the Navy Federal at the 11th hour told us that our loans were denied. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why that happens and how you can protect yourself. So, all right, ladies, ladies, ladies. Again, please like the video as you are coming in. Definitely share this information with a friend or two. And let's get started with tonight's conversation here. So I actually even highlighted this article because I wanted to make sure that there were certain things that I saw, and I wanted to make sure that I zeroed in on these topics. So I have this article highlighted here. So the CNN article says the nation's largest credit union rejected more than half of its Black conventional mortgage applicants. And again, this came out yesterday. Of course, the Black streets are a-buzzing about this. One thing that Coach K said in his, I didn't get to hear all of it. He only talked for 9 minutes, but I was super busy. But I heard half of it. Is part of this is our fault because we have had these people on social media talking about run the play. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I know roughly what it means, but like craziness. People have been suggesting that Black people do, and if you think the Navy Federal board members and the Navy Federal individuals are not watching these things on social media, you're wrong. So we have had, of course, this year has been the year with Pocket Watching JT talking about a lot of different misinformation that's happening. And I'm not saying that Navy Federal is correct in denying Black borrowers. Um, and ultimately, I will say tonight's session is not about Navy Federal. Tonight's session is about you. Some of the things I can warn you about and some of the things I would suggest you do. But this whole run the play and all of that, has been a problem as well. Let's be real, right? Let's be real. So let's talk about Navy Federal. Let's read through the article here. I have some things highlighted. So, Navy Federal approved more than 75% of the white borrowers who applied for a new conventional home purchase mortgage in 2022, according to the most recent data available from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. But less than 50% of Black borrowers who applied for the same type of loan were approved. While many banks also approved white applicants at higher rates than Black borrowers, the nearly 29% point gap in Navy Federal's approval rates was the widest of any of the 50 lenders that originated the most mortgage loans last year. So, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, one thing that you should know is that mortgages are heavily regulated and it's heavily reported on. There are anti-discrimination laws with regards to mortgage loans, mortgage applications, etc. Um, so what the government does is they will always ask us as mortgage loan officers if we can see your face and we can tell you are Black or you are white or you are Native American or something like that. If you give us any indication of that, then we are obligated to put that within your loan as well. And the government then like pays attention to who's getting approvals and who's getting denials, right? So this is how they discovered this information because the government keeps up with it. It says here a deeper statistical analysis performed by CNN found that Black applicants to Navy Federal were more than twice as likely to be denied as white applicants, even when more than a dozen different variables, including income, debt to income ratio, property value, down payment percentage, and neighborhood characteristics were the same. I have to admit, this is Cherie speaking. I have to admit, when I first heard the headline, the first thing I thought were, what were the debt to income ratios? I have to admit it, but CNN Business kind of came right out front and said, no, 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 no. It's not debt to income ratio issues. Because I saw a lot of Black people in Erica's comments saying, we made more than they made and we're getting denied. And I thought, well, what are the debt to income ratios? What are the student loans looking like? With some federal debt, if you are behind on taxes and things like that, you can get denied, etc. So I wasn't so quick to jump on the train with regards to, this being a problem. But CNN Business did say, like, no, we accounted for these things. We accounted for these things. And the number of Black homeowners, number of Black applicants that are getting approved, it's still not similar when we account for these different variables here, right? Okay. Another thing I want to say is a mortgage company can deny you if your debt to income ratios are not correct, right? If they are, if your debt to income ratio is too high, right? It is illegal for them to deny you because of the property value or because of your neighborhood characteristics, which is where you live. That is illegal. They can say you don't have enough down payment, depending on the loan itself. They can say you have enough down payment, but you cannot prove to us where the down payment money came from. They can say that, but there are things that are illegal with regards to Navy Federal saying we don't invest over there, or any lending company saying we don't invest over there. That's redlining. That's redlining. So, yeah, Malika, you and I thought the same thing. First thing I thought was, what were the qualifiers? That's why I didn't jump on this story right away. I was super busy yesterday. I wanted to come and I wanted to actually read the entire article. There were a couple of other things that stood out to me in this article, and we're going to review them as well. So, you're asking the question, I have Navy Federal, should Black people take our money away from them? I say it's a personal decision. I say it's a personal decision. I will say this. The article says that most, I don't know if it says most or all, but super majority of banks, there is still this disparity between Black borrowers and white borrowers. The question is, are we going to support our Black banks? And are we going to support our Black banks so much that they have a more than enough capital to be able to lend within the community? And that is a bigger conversation than I'm willing to have this evening. On this channel, I focus more on you as an individual, you as a family, and the things that you could do. My cape is off. I'm not here to save the Black community. I am here tonight to talk to you as an individual, give you a little bit of education, talk about some of the things that you are able to do so that when you go and you apply for a mortgage, you're not only more likely to get a pre-approval letter, you're also more likely to get to the closing table on time. Hey, Erica, good to see you. Good to see you. But I will say, Notary World, if you feel like you want to individually protest this and individually move your money to another bank, then you know that's what you should do as an individual. I do feel like that. I'll admit I have a Navy Federal account. My money is staying in Navy Federal. And my money is not only in Navy Federal, my money is in a few other places as well. But, I'm not personally leaving Navy Federal. But on the other hand, I never personally asked Navy Federal for money either. So this is saying here the credit union rejected about 3,700 Black applicants for home purchase mortgages last year. I would have thought that the number would have been higher. I'm shocked that the number is this low. If they said 37,000, I would have thought that sounds more like it. The fact that we're talking about 3,700 Black applicants, I actually was pretty surprised that the number was this low. I did highlight this because I feel like the spokesperson from Navy Federal made a comment, and we should read this as well. It says here, in a statement, Navy Federal spokesperson Bill Pearson defended the credit union's lending practices. So he said that CNN's analysis, quote, does not accurately reflect our practices, unquote, because it did not account for, quote, major criteria required by any financial institution to approve a mortgage loan. Those factors include credit scores, available cash deposits, and relationship history with the lender. All right, this is what they're saying here. They're saying that as a credit union, they have more obstacles that you have to go over and through, because this is a conventional loan, right? They have more obstacles that you have to go through in order to be approved by them, right? They're also saying here, by some measures, Navy Federal has been successful at lending to minority borrowers. A fourth, so 25% of its conventional mortgage applicants were Black, and about 18% of the conventional loans it originated went to Black borrowers, a larger portion than almost any other lender. So we have basically two conflicting pieces of information here. We have the piece of information that Black borrowers are being denied by more than half, right? More than half of Black borrowers are being denied for these loans. And on the other end, we also have them saying, based on the data, that Black borrowers are getting 18%, 25% of the conventional mortgage applicants were Black, and 18% of those loans went to Black borrowers, which is a larger portion than almost any other lender. This is what they're saying. This is what they're saying. So there are a couple of other things I wanted to point out in this article because I thought that they were very telling. And I wanted to, as Black women making money, I wanted to give you some things to do and think about, but more importantly, do if and when you decide to get a mortgage, right? Okay. It says here, experts in mortgage lending and advocates, excuse me, experts in mortgage lending and advocates for fair housing said that the racial gaps in Navy Federal's approval rates were surprisingly large and raised questions about the institution's lending practices. So, if you're going to Navy Federal, and I'm not telling you not to go to Navy Federal, I want to be very clear about that. I'm not telling you not to go to Navy Federal. I'm saying have a backup plan. If you're going to Navy Federal, have a backup plan, but I'm definitely not telling you not to go to Navy Federal. So this gentleman here is a guy named Bob Otondi. He went house hunting in the summer of 2021. He immediately knew he found his dream home, and they describe what it is. The credit union had pre-approved him. When I read this statement, this is one of the reasons why I stopped and said, let me do a live stream on this now. I want you to listen to me. I want you to understand how the game works. All right. The credit union had pre-approved him. He said he'd successfully paid off several previous Navy Federal vehicle loans. And he had budgeted a down payment of more than 20% of the home's value. But then, just weeks before he was scheduled to close on the purchase of his house, Otandi got the bad news. Navy Federal was denying his application. The credit union told him in a form letter that it had concluded his income was not high enough to account for his debts. And then it says here, his realtor, Angela Crescini, connected him with another mortgage lender who approved him for a loan in about 2 weeks, and the purchase went through. Okay, I'm going to give you some game here. You all know I am a mortgage loan officer. I am a broker. I am a mortgage loan broker. I want to talk to you about a couple of things for you to know with regards to this. Pre-approval letters. A lot of places, not just Navy Federal, but a lot of places write pre-approval letters like they're giving away candy in Halloween. The pre-approval letters mean absolutely nothing. And in fact, for most cases, I'm going to tell you when they actually mean something. In fact, when you go and you start to think about buying a house, the realtor, especially an experienced realtor, will ask you for a pre-approval letter. And they're going to put that in the package with your offer. Here's the game that experienced realtors know, that inexperienced realtors don't know, and that we as Black people are not told this part of the game. The seller's agent, the real estate agent that's looking at all of the offers that they're getting from all of these individuals who are putting offers on these properties, they know what banks and what pre-approval letters are not worth the paper they're printed on versus which ones are called fully underwritten pre-approval letters. There is a difference between just getting a pre-approval letter and getting a fully underwritten pre-approval letter. And the seller's agents, the people who are deciding or suggesting to their clients who are selling that house, they know what banks pre-approval letters are vetted and worth it, and which ones are not. How do I know that? Because I work with realtors. I work in an office with realtors. I talk with realtors all the time. They tell me these things. So now I am telling this to you, right? Navy Federal has so many applications coming in that they don't look through all of your documentation and all of your information. You apply, and my understanding is you get a pre-approval letter. That pre-approval letter means absolutely nothing. Versus if you come to a person like me, I am asked by my company to basically fully underwrite your file before I give you a pre-approval letter. Before I give you a pre-approval letter, I am looking at your taxes. I am looking at your pay stubs. I am looking at all of the information that the underwriters are going to need in order to make a decision. I am running your application through our automated system to see if there are any red flags that are going to come up. The Navy federal person, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, they get paid their salary whether or not your loan closes. I, Cherie, only get paid if your loan closes. The Navy, Federal, and a lot of these banks, these people are salaried. They get paid whether or not your loan closes. They go home on Friday with a paycheck, whether or not the bank says yes or no. I, Cherie, am a mortgage loan broker. I get paid only if your loan goes through. One of the questions you want to ask, or two of the questions you want to ask is, number one, do you do a fully underwritten pre-approval loan? Right? If the person looks at you with a blank stare, my suggestion to you is you interview other loan officers. That's my suggestion, right? Number two, if the person gets to go home on Friday with a check, whether or not your loan closes, I'm not telling you not to use them. I'm telling you to know what you are doing. I'm not, and don't get it twisted. There will be some people who will say, I'm on commission, but what they really mean is they get a salary and then they get a little bit of commission based on your loan closing. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, are you working with somebody who does not eat if your loan does not close? Okay. Now, let's move to the other end. You want to make sure that somebody is not so desperate for commission that they will do anything to get you into a loan, including giving you bad financial advice. You don't want a desperate loan officer. I'm not suggesting that at all. You don't want a desperate loan officer. Hey, Deanne, good to see you. Right? So we want to make sure that, well, I'm not going to tell you not to work with the person who gets paid whether or not your loan closes. I'm going to say, know what you're doing. And on the other hand, I'm also going to warn you about the, people who will um, do anything to get you into a loan, including putting you in a product that is not beneficial to you and your family. Okay. All right. I see you all have things you're saying in here. So Malika is saying there are so many things that come in the decision to companies and banks loaning money. That is true. That is absolutely true. That might have been a blessing in disguise for him. It's possible. Pre-approval does not mean you are guaranteed for a loan. That is one of the things I'm trying to say. Pre-approval, unless the person has gone through your, and here's the thing, with the Navy Federal types, I'm not going to say Navy Federal itself, but Navy Federal types, they don't have an incentive to go through your file before you have a signed contract and a signed offer. They don't. Whereas me, I have an incentive to go through your file, make sure everything looks good, because I don't want to waste my time on your file if you are not going to get approved, right? So I'm going to spend more time with you on the front end than you walking into any big bank. Pick a big bank that's out there, right? Deanne is here again. We'll catch what came before the replay. This is excellent info. Thank you so much, Deanne. Malika saying this is great analysis. Please hit the like button. Yes, please hit the like button. And don't forget to join Black Women Making Money for exclusive content, bwmakingmoney.com. bwmakingmoney.com. You get exclusive content and invitations to our monthly Zoom meetings. Kay is saying, exactly, they did the same for us as well. They checked all of our documents, yes, before a letter was provided to us. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. These are the things that you want to think about and you want to know. And sometimes a mortgage broker can get you very competitive interest rates and things like that. They have access to the down payment assistance programs. They know different things that you're able to do. They strategize with your realtor. An excellent mortgage loan officer does all of those things. The person at well, the person at Big Bank, I shouldn't use it. The person at Big Bank is going to say, who? Yeah, okay. Versus if Malika calls me and says, hey, Cherie, it's Malika. Hey, Malika, girl, what's going on? Why? Because I have a relationship with you. I have a relationship with you. The person at Big Bank is going to ask you what your account number is, what your loan application number is. Are you going to be are you going to be able to get them on the phone right away as things are needed? Is Big Bank going to call the seller's agent when they have 8 different offers in front of them and go to bat for your offer being accepted on your dream home? A mortgage loan a broker like myself will, if you call me and say, Cherie, I put in an offer on my dream home. Can you call the seller's agent and, talk up my pre-approval letter so that they know I can get the loan? Because here's the thing, the seller's agent is scared, concerned that your pre-approval letter, it won't amount to anything, and your loan will fall out in the 11th hour and they will have to start all over again. But guess what? A phone call from me saying, hey, Sally Realtor, my name is Cherie. I work with Malika. Um, I want to tell you that I have looked at her taxes. I have looked at her bank statement. She's got money in her 401k that she's pulling out. We've, for her down payment, we have thoroughly vetted her file, and she is a good financial candidate for this home. And she really would love it if you would really accept her offer. That goes a long way. But let me ask you this. Do you think Big Bank is going to make that call on your behalf? These are some of the things that people don't tell you that I'm here to tell you this evening, right? Deanna saying Navy Federal knows how many people in our community know about them because of popular fraud advice. And I was talking about this earlier, Deanne. I was. Coach K had mentioned it in his live streams, talking about run the play and all of that stuff. These people are watching us on social media saying crazy stuff. Yes, they are. The popular fraud advice about how to get a car loan and convert that money to something else, they are not playing along. This is true. This is true. So one of the things that they said, one of the reasons they denied people was because they said that the people did not have a long enough history with Navy Federal. Are your direct deposits going into your Navy Federal account? And I'm not saying that, all of these things are foolproof. I'm just saying, looking at it from their perspective, there may be other things at play as well. Is your direct deposit going into the Navy Federal account? Has it been going into the Navy Federal account for 5 years? Et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes, even with all of that, it may not be good enough. Malika is saying it would be nice to know what questions to ask and what to look for in a loan person. We can come back to that, Malika. I want to finish reading the article, but definitely let's come back to that. Remind me if I forget. You're saying here, this makes so much sense. Working with someone who makes their money on salary is not as safe as working with someone who is paid to do it right. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So let's continue looking at the article here. So, the other thing that I want to say about the realtor, your realtor will most likely have a mortgage lender that they feel comfortable with, that they know can actually close the loan. They probably have worked with that person before, etc. So if you come into the loan process with a pre-approval letter and your realtor's like, hey, why don't you talk to my person as well? My suggestion to you is talk with your realtor's person. Your realtor will know who can um, who can save a loan and who can save a deal. Because guess what? Your realtor, your realtor does not get a commission unless the home closes. So they have just as much incentive to make sure that you get into your home as the mortgage broker does who is not on salary, right? These two people know how to work together. They text each other, they call each other, they think alike, and they can work behind the scenes on your behalf in order to make things happen. In order to make things happen. So, um, the analysis was based on data collected under the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, which requires most financial institutions to report anonymized information on mortgage applications to the government. This is something that, every time I take continuing education, when I had to get my original license, they drilled into us about these different anti-discrimination laws that are out there. But I read something pretty interesting, I think is coming up in this article here, that I wanted to point out to you. Oh, it's coming up. It's coming up. They're saying here, what may be widening the gap? The decision to approve or deny a mortgage application is largely made by the automated underwriting system. And advocates have been pushing lenders like Navy Federal to improve those systems to reduce racial disparities. In recent years, some banks have changed their underwriting systems to take into account additional data that can reduce these racial disparities, such as including an applicant's history of paying rent in a calculation of their credit worthiness. Pearson, the Navy Federal spokesperson, said rental history was incorporated into the credit union's underwriting process, but did not provide any additional details. Let me give you a little bit of information about the mortgage industry itself. The automated underwriting system is something that is standard. It's something that I have to put your information through. Other people have to put your information through. Every mortgage person has to put your information through this program that looks at your application and it looks at the quote unquote errors within the automated underwriting system. Here's what happens though. In a lot of applications, most applications, I would even say, definitely more than 50%, there will be issues that come up the first time you put the application through this automated system. It is not necessarily racism. Actually, it's not racism at all. It's just the system is reading the different parts of the application and saying, this is wrong, therefore this application is ineligible. Here's the difference between the person who is fighting for your loan and the person who's not. The person who is fighting for your loan will read all of the issues that's occurring with your application, and they will spend time and they will fix the issues in the application in order for your application to go through and to be approved. Other people will say this is too difficult, therefore the answer is no. I'm not accusing Navy Federal of that. I want to be very clear. I'm not accusing Navy Federal of that. What I am saying is doing a mortgage loan application does take work. It does take grit. And if you have somebody putting your information into that automatic system that looks through your application and it says these are the errors, therefore the person isn't eligible unless you fix the errors. If I don't care about you enough to fix the errors, if I don't care enough about you to fix the errors so that it can go through that automated system and it can become an eligible application, then that is how you end up with stuff falling out at the last minute. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope it does. So this is also saying here, I thought this was very interesting. Unlike large banks, Navy Federal is not subject to the Community Reinvestment Act, which encourages lenders to make loans in low and middle income neighborhoods. While federal regulators review banks' lending under the act, they do not do so for credit unions and other non-bank lenders. Here is what this means. There are certain banks out there, certain big banks, certain small banks that have more regulations put upon them because they take money from something called the Community Reinvestment Act. And the Community Reinvestment Act was restarted by President Obama. And it basically said after the 2009 financial crisis, they dusted this law off, and President Obama put it into practice. And he went and he and his administration went and they said, "Hey, banks, you want us to bail you out? We're going to give you money through this Community Reinvestment Act, but you have to make more loans in low and middle income neighborhoods." So they say that to the big banks, they say that to the small banks. When I read this piece here, this told me a lot, because guess who is not required to do more loans in low and middle income neighborhoods? According to this, credit unions. Navy Federal is not underneath the Community Reinvestment Act. Most Black people are buying properties in low and working class neighborhoods, middle income neighborhoods. Navy Federal is not under the same scrutiny as a lot of these other banks. They're not, right? This is a very important piece. When I read this, I thought, oh, okay, makes sense. So we're saying here, according to the CNN Business article, in other cases, racial disparities in mortgage lending have been linked to loan officers. Oh, I want you to listen to this, because this was the other piece that I really wanted you to hear. In other cases, racial disparities in mortgage lending have been linked to loan officers helping white borrowers more than Black ones, said Sarah Pratt, a lawyer at the law firm Relman Colfax, who previously led the U.S. Department of HUD, of Housing and Urban Development, civil rights enforcement efforts. Listen to this, ladies. Listen to this. It says here, a particular loan officer might make exceptions or just work harder for some people's loans, such as telling applicants to pay down credit cards or increase their down payment if they're on the edge of getting approved, Pratt said. Loan officers might give this advice to a white borrower And with a Black borrower, they're less likely to do so. Ladies, I have talked to you about your multicultural networks. This is the perfect reason for me saying multicultural networks. So Malika asked the question, what are some of the questions that we should ask? What are some of the questions that you should ask? Outside of asking if they are a lender, a mortgage lender, or a mortgage broker, do they get paid only when you close your loan? Because that'll tell you a lot about how hard they'll work for you. You want to ask them, hey, let's really strategize about my file. How does my credit look? Are there certain things on my credit report that I should pay off? Are there certain bills that I should pay? If you are delinquent in taxes, letting that person know so that they can navigate accordingly. If you have any down payment issues, letting people know so that letting your mortgage loan officer know so that they can navigate accordingly. One thing that a very good mortgage loan officer will do is they will ask you, what's more important to you? Your monthly mortgage payment or the amount of money that you have to come to the table with for closing cost, right? Uh, you'll need to let us know that so that way we can navigate our responses. Or sorry, we will cater our responses to what you are wanting. Another question is, how close are you to the underwriter? Can you contact the underwriter if something is happening with my loan? And can you advocate for me? Because there are certain things that underwriters cannot they can't deviate from. It's written in the guidelines. It's basically they don't have any discretion. There are other areas where they do have discretion. And you want to make sure you're working with somebody. First of all, can they communicate effectively? Can they communicate effectively with you? Because if they can communicate effectively with you, they can communicate effectively with the underwriter. If the underwriter comes back and says, no, this person is not eligible for the loan, one of the things that I've been trained to do by one of my mentors who closes 100 million in loans a year, which trust me, that's like a lot, right? She's one of the top. She trained me with anytime they come back to you and say they can't do something, you ask them to prove, she's telling me as a mortgage loan officer, you ask them to prove it to you in the guidelines within, let's just say within the guidelines. I don't want to get too detailed, too technical. But is that person going to fight for your loan? Number one. And number two, do they have the communication skills to fight for your loan? Number three, do they have a relationship with the underwriter so that they know how to fight for your loan? And finally, I actually keep a cheat sheet here of uh, different things that different things that underwriters can have discretion on. So it could be anything with regards to collections or payment history, or sometimes there's issues with, you know, uh, where money is coming from and things like that. Sometimes the underwriter will have certain types of discretion. And one of the things, just questions to ask is, hey, how close again are you to the underwriter? And if things look like they are not going to go our way, what kind of persuasion skills can you have with the underwriter? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Deanna's saying we have to build relationships with people who both know and will share and have familiarity. You're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right about that. So the fact that they said in here, this was the second reason why I wanted to show this article, that some loan officers will make exceptions or just work harder for some people's loans by telling them basically what credit cards to pay down, increase their down payment. I, for example, have access to a program that says, if your credit score is here and we need it 20, 30 points higher, whatever, like I can put it into this system and it says if you pay off this and this today, then we can rescore your credit. Like all of those things, you want somebody who has access to the tools, the information, and will share the information with you in order for you to be successful. So I think this is the final thing that I had within this article. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, here's another one. Ted Spencer, 42, Navy Federal. He applied for a Navy Federal mortgage. He's Black. He had been banking with them for he'd been banking with Navy Federal since he joined the Navy 2 decades earlier. So yeah, he had had his account for 20 years. He had good experiences with them, so it was an obvious choice for a loan. He was pre-approved for a VA loan with no down payment. So he went house hunting. His offer was accepted right away. And he is also saying here, after submitting his paperwork to Navy Federal, he ended up waiting for weeks. He said he repeatedly emailed, called, and messaged his loan officer without any response. That should be um, your first clue that you're not getting the loan. If you are consistently emailing, calling, and messaging your loan officer and they are not responding to you, it's time for you to jump ship and go someplace else, right? Okay. He says here, then finally he heard back that the mortgage was denied with a letter from the credit union that he showed CNN citing his credit history and debts. It was pretty much the 11th hour. I really thought we were going to lose the house. And then again, somebody came in and saved the day. And I think that's it. Yes. That's it for this specific article here. But I thought it was important for us to have this conversation. Got a couple of other things to share with you. The Fed is going to be potentially reducing their rates. They said they are in 2024. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the cost of buying homes as well. But I do want to come here and just make sure we don't have any other questions. You're saying red flag. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody, if you have not liked the video, please like the video. I didn't think I was going to go as long as I did with that Navy Federal thing, but hopefully some of the things I said kind of gave you an inside glimpse of the mortgage loan industry and you can know how to play the game yourself. Um, so yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Fed because the Fed yesterday or 2 days ago now, Fed signals 3 rate cuts are going to happen in 2024 and the end of higher interest rate cycle. So this is our friend here, Jerome Powell, the one and only J. Row. You all cannot tell me when you heard the name Jerome Powell that you did not think that was a Black man. I don't care what anybody says, but no, this is Jerome Powell here. He runs the Fed here. And basically, I don't have anything else to say except that if you have been on the sidelines with regards to buying a house, a lot of people are going to be entering the market as the rates go down. People believe practically 100% that there will definitely be a rate decrease by March. The Fed has a meeting in January, a meeting in February, but there are chances that'll happen in January, February, but definitely by March. I said to you all Let me put my face up here so you can see your girl, Cherie. I said to all of you that this might also coincide with the election. You all know that Biden has not been doing so well in the polls. I'm not saying that's the reason that Jerome Powell is saying now that they're most likely going to reduce rates. I'm just saying, I said it for the past few months that it would have not have surprised me if rates were going to start going down. More people are going to enter the housing market. People are going to start moving. People are going to start moving up. A lot potentially is going to be happening this summer with regards to real estate. So, and you'll say that will be in time for crypto as well. Yeah, look, Biden is losing right now on the economy. So, this summer is going to be very, very interesting with regards to what's happening with interest rates, housing prices, inflation, crypto, all of those things. All of those things. Um, they try to make big plays before election time. Yes, they do. Yes, they don't be surprised if gas prices go down. My gas prices around here are about $3.20 a gallon. I wouldn't be surprised if I see a 2 in front of the gas prices, $2.99, $2.89. Like, look, I told you all the oligarchs do not want Trump. They don't. No. Am I saying that the only reason these things are happening is because of Trump? No. And do I have any proof whatsoever that any of this stuff is happening because of Trump? No, I have no proof. Y'all know I'm honest with you. I don't have any proof. It's my spidey senses, but my spidey senses have been going off for months now. If you all have been following this channel, I've been saying it for months that it would not surprise me at all if interest rates go down, gas prices go down. They're gonna do whatever they have to do to stave off inflation and all of that. Yeah. Oh, you're saying you're glad I did a bit longer, explained a lot. Good. I'm glad. I'm learning how to talk a lot longer because I'm not used to talking so long. You are also saying here, right when people stop talking to you as professionals. That is a soft no. Yes, that's not even a soft no. That's a we are ignoring you. When they stop answering your calls and your emails, etc., you could just basically understand your loan isn't getting approved. So you're saying I agree. Get that money running by November. We may pay heavily in 2020. That's true. We may pay heavily in 2026. Yes. Time to get ready and prepare for profit now. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree with that. You're saying believe those spidey senses, Peter Parker. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I got one more thing to show you. One more thing to show you. So let me make this super big for all of you to see. CNBC has a chart of the day, and this came out a couple of months ago. I've been holding on to it, but today is a good day for me to talk about it with you. This is the annual income needed to afford a median priced home in the United States. In January of 2012, for you to afford a median priced home in the United States, you had to have an annual income of $44,800. According to CNBC in this chart from Redfin, August 2023, you had to have an annual income of $114,600 to afford a median priced home in the United States. How many of you ladies knew this? You kind of knew it, right? You kind of knew it. You knew that something was happening. You knew that it was costing more for you to get into the housing market. But from 2022, so basically 11 years ago, 11 years ago, basically you have to have close to triple the income from 11 years ago to be able to get into a home. Or when I talked to Coach K about it a couple of nights ago, he said, or you have to be married. So either you have to be a skilled worker, or you have to have grandma, grandpa, mom, dad help you get into a property, or you have to be a successful business owner, or you are left out of the housing market. When I saw this, I was like, wow. Deanna saying, as San Franciscan, I see that and see the country is catching up with our prices. Yeah, it is. It is. I will say this as well. I saw a chart a while ago. I didn't pull it up tonight. That 60%, 60% of Black people are not home owners. So you've got all this appreciation happening within the housing market, and we're not participating in it at all. Got all this wealth being built, all this wealth being distributed, and we're not participating in it at all. So we've kind of gone full circle tonight. If you all want to put a 1 in the chat, if you want to come up, I will drop the link. Otherwise, I will, say good, say good evening to all of you. But I did want to come and just kind of share a lot of that information with you. You're saying that is scary. Yeah, 60%. 60%. So when we say the rich get richer, when we say the rich get richer, this is part of what we're referring to. It's the rich getting richer. But here's the thing. And I know you ladies on my channel are not a part of this, but I'm just going to make this comment. We have a lot of people talking about white supremacy. White supremacy. When it only costs you having a salary of $45,000 a year for you to buy a home, and you did not take advantage of it, we can't always blame white supremacy. Do I think that there is white supremacy? Yes, of course. But the majority of our problems are not white supremacy, just like the majority of the reason we don't have loans, mortgages, is not Navy Federal. It's because we don't know how to play the game. A lot of people had an opportunity in 2012, 2013, 2014 to get into the market, to buy a house. And now, for so many people, it's out of reach. It's out of reach. Unless you are skilled labor or you own a successful business, which is why we do Small Business Saturday around here. We need to start getting better skills, continuing education, second jobs, etc. Yeah, like I believe, honestly, this wasn't Black people, but just overall America. In the 1950s, it was rare for women to work. Mostly the man worked and the woman stayed home with the kids. And then we got to a point where now in most households, you have to have both husband and wife working. I believe we're going to get to a point pretty soon where everybody will have 2 jobs, a primary job and a side gig work, not business. I believe a lot of people have side gig work We're seeing that now. We're seeing that trend now. Start working overtime if you can. Yeah. So here's the thing with overtime. This is another big thing with mortgages. Like once you start dealing with a mortgage broker who really knows the rules, if you are working overtime and you want your overtime included in your income, you have to work the same number of overtime hours for at least 2 years. And we, as the lender, when we call your employer, we need to hear from your employer that that overtime will likely continue in order for us to count that income in your salary. Sorry, in your yeah, in your with regards to your salary and your debt to income ratio. The reason that we do that is because with overtime, at any time it could be cut. And if you are dependent on making your mortgage payments with your overtime, then that is not prudent for the underwriter and the lender. So it's like knowing stuff like this as you are getting started, you're working the process is so important. Now, you can work overtime in order to get your closing costs. You can work overtime in order to put more towards your down payment. But if you haven't been working those overtime hours for at least 2 years, and we don't believe that that overtime will continue, then, we can't count it. Can't count it. Many of our people refuse to acknowledge the non oppressive moves white people use to stay on top economically. Yeah, but here's the thing, Deanne. My issue is that a lot of it is our fault. A lot of it is our fault. The non oppressive moves, like they don't have to oppress Black people. We do things ourselves that hurt us. So let's talk economics, right? Instead of going out and at 22, 23, 24 purchasing a house, we purchase the baddest car that we can, right? And then a couple of years later, we turn that car in and we get another car, and then we get another car. And then by the time we're ready to buy a home, when we're 30, 32, we've got so much negative equity in these cars that even though a bank would say, well, yeah, you're making $110,000 a year, but you've got this issue with this car over here or this debt over here, right? Another thing is, we've talked about it, having children out of wedlock. Now, if you were a single mother, of course, I would never talk disparagingly about anybody. But we have to be honest in that we are bringing children into the world before we are financially ready and able to take care of those children. So there are a lot of things that we do that oppresses us, that keeps us down. This is why I come on and I talk about you individually. What are the things individually that you should do? Another thing that I hear people saying on YouTube, not all of you, because, but just on YouTube, talking about white people so much and white people are the boogeyman and white people are so bad, instead of saying, you know what? I need a multicultural network so that when things happen, I have a lot of people I can go to in order to make a move, in order to get what I need, et cetera, et cetera. We have a lot of people who just, well, I'm not going to finish that statement. It's just sad. It just really is. Diamond Dave is in the building. When I apply for a loan, does the underwriter know my race? Most likely, yes. Most likely, yes. So, Diamond Dave, what happens is even if you do not put your race on your application, if I see you, if I see you as a loan officer, it will ask me, do you see this person? What race do you think this person is? And what sex do you think this person is? So, yes, the underwriter does see your race. Now, what I said was that you need a loan officer who is going to fight for your loan no matter what. So it shouldn't matter what your race is. Your biggest decision in the home buying process is who your loan officer is. What kind of relationship do they have with the underwriter? Do they know the rules? Are they doing a fully underwritten pre approval before they give you a pre approval letter? Are they calling the seller's agent when you purchase that home, put an offer on that home? Are they calling the seller's agent to say, hey, I have checked Diamond Dave's taxes. I have checked his bank statements. I know he has the cash to close. This is going to be a good loan for you. This is going to be a good loan, and this offer is a good offer. All of those things are included in the process. So, one of the things that I tried to educate people on tonight was how to interview a loan officer in order to have the best chance possible of your loan getting approved. Of your loan getting approved. But hey, Diamond Dave, good to see you. Good to see you in the chat here. I'm just going to read a few more of these and then I'm going to head out. Do you think that all the rejections from Navy Federal is because of all the scamming that's been going on with Black people and that bank in particularly? I won't say all the rejections. I do think that some of them, yes. Yes, I do. I do. Yeah, there were a lot of people on social media who were talking about sneaky ways to get into Navy Federal and they were shutting it down. Yeah. Hmm. Yep, I do. You like your credit unions, not getting rid of them. I have a Navy Federal account. I'm not getting rid of Navy Federal. I'm okay with Navy Federal. I have other federal credit union accounts. I'm not getting rid of them. We just have to be smarter on how we play the game. Deanna is saying, I do agree. The refusal is among the things we do to harm ourselves. The things you're describing are learned behaviors that others avoid and we often do not. It's true. It's true. It's true. So, Malika is saying, I'm glad I went to the schools I did. It got me used to being around other races, cultures, and interacting with them. I agree. I am very blessed to have had the parents that I had, grandparents that I had, the cultural upbringing. I went to school with white people and then I went to church on Sunday with Black people. So I got the best of both worlds. I would not change my upbringing for anything. I think I had the best upbringing. I do. And one of the best things you could do is navigate between both worlds. So, although True Mystique has a very unpopular opinion as to why the Black race largely is in these situations, but because it's biblical, most people aren't going to want to listen. That's probably true. Most people will not want to listen because it is easier to be a victim and it is easier to blame everything else than to blame ourselves. And do I think personal responsibility for everything? No, I'm not that naive. But there are a lot of things that we individually do and we collectively do that it's just not smart. It's not smart. getting on social media talking about run the play with Navy Federal, run the play. And I'm not talking about small YouTube channels either. I'm talking about some of your bigger financial YouTube channels having guests on talking about run the play with Navy Federal. And you think that people at Navy Federal weren't watching this? Didn't get wind of this? And it's not just Navy Federal, it's all the credit unions that are out there. So, yeah. So that is it, ladies. That is it for a Friday. My phone was blowing up while we were on this live, but that's okay. I shall respond to people. I will be working all weekend. People are watching at all times. Yes, Malika, you are absolutely right. They're watching at all times. But tonight, I hope I gave you some things to think about, some ways that you can navigate the home buying process. There's a lot. Oh, one final thing. There's a lot of mortgage loan programs out there. You want the mortgage loan officer who is always on webinars and talking to people about all the different loan programs that are out there and who has access to the people that can help you get these mortgages. Because let me tell you, the mortgages that I see, this is Cherie, I honestly believe that these lenders and the federal government wants people to be homeowners because some of the loans that I'm seeing, there's a lot of down payment decreases that are happening. People are able to, well, there's a lot of good loans, like a lot of good loans out there. But again, you have to have the mortgage loan officer who is willing to fight for you, willing to fight for your loan, can put you into some good programs. Even I, right now, I have a client who is buying an investment property and going to renovate it. I actually am going to 3 different companies right now and like putting in her application with 3 different lenders all at one time. And we're going to look at all of the term sheets. We're going to look at the strength of all of them, and we're going to come back and make a decision based on that. You need a loan officer who's on your side like that. You do. And the Navy Federal loan officer, like I said before, it's my understanding, I believe, I could be wrong. I don't know. You want to ask them. They get paid whether or not your loan goes through. So that's what we've talked about tonight. You're saying here they want more loan defaults so BlackRock, Blackstone hedge funds can devour them. If that's the truth, then more Black people would have been approved for loans. I disagree with this statement. If that's the truth, then they would have more subprime lending. In fact, part of his history lesson. In 2008, the mortgage crisis happened because there were a lot of subprime loans out there. There were a lot of shady lending companies that were out there. Now we are unable to provide a loan to somebody who is not able to pay and repay that loan back. In 2006, 2005, 2004, these subprime loans, as long as you had breath coming from your body and a social security number, you could get a mortgage. Now that is not the case. I honestly, Miki Che, I'm no, I'm mispronouncing your name. It's the opposite end. It's the opposite end. If they truly wanted more loan defaults, they would allow lending to absolutely anybody. And that's not what's happening. So, Run the play equals run away. Yes, I am going to be mean. I'm just going to say it. The more and more and more Black people I see in any one place talking this kind of language, the more I'm like, let me move to another financial institution, to another financial YouTube channel, to another financial conference, etc. If I see a whole lot of Black people and I'm listening and I'm hearing crazy talk, I'm leaving. Actually, I don't even enter the building. I don't. You're saying here, I mean the Biden mortgage plan for unqualified buyers. I have to look at that then. I have to look at that because that must be fairly new. Because they have been really pushing that we have to make sure that you have the ability to repay loans. Now they have been wanting to get more and more underserved communities and lower income people into houses, but you still have to be able to repay the loan. So you feel the same way. Yeah, I do. Look, I'm like, I'll say you'll never see me at an earn your leisure anything. Never. I don't care. They can know. I ain't going. Right? The market behavior is completely different now. They do not want the subprime crew in the market. They got what they wanted from Black women in particular. Then they did. A lot of Black people lost their homes in the 2008 mortgage crisis. Now we have a situation where a lot of Black people, according to this Navy Federal article, are not getting approved. So you're locked out for different reasons. You're locked out for different reasons. You're saying that was introduced in 2021, aimed at the same buyers that caused the 2008 bubble. So I do know about like the different, um, they were trying to do something with Bank of America and a couple of other um, banks. And it had to have been 2021 where they were going to offer these grants to people. But I don't know how many people actually got into the program. I don't know how many people got into the program. I know what you're talking about, if it's the same program I'm thinking of, but I don't know how many people actually got into that program because the grants weren't that much. They were a few $1,000s. You're saying, yes, that one. Yeah, we need to do some research on that, but I don't think a lot of people got into that program. I don't think they did. Yeah, they do. You are absolutely right. They, it could have been so much more than it is. I'm just going to say that. And it's sad. It's sad what could have been. And I'm not going to say anymore. I'm not going to say anymore because I am in my official capacity tonight as a mortgage loan officer. So I'm not going to say any more about that. Um, a lot of this information is coming from the same people that really believe that child support is unconstitutional. Well, look, you unconstitutional yourself to either pay your child support or be put in jail. So Deanna saying I was done with EYL that day for that foolishness. Like I need anyone to teach me fraud twice. They've been doing it on their YouTube channel, and I don't watch EYL. I was just catching little clips, and even I knew I didn't like the vibe of the people that was coming on, but I'm always like, okay, this person isn't my flavor, but if they're teaching legitimate stuff, maybe they're able to um, capture the attention of people who wouldn't necessarily listen to me. And I think that's great. But then if you're teaching craziness, people are teaching how to get LLC papers and get $100,000 loan with no revenues. I wrote business plans and helped raise capital for 12 years. The stuff I was hearing was craziness. So, you're saying they would be in default in less than 2 years. They would, unless we can prove that they have an ability to repay that loan. So, I'll do some research on that. I want to see how many people actually got into those programs because I haven't heard about them recently. So, we'll see. EYL is trying to appease the lowest common denominator. It's just not working. A lot of their followers have crooked mentalities. It's messed up, but that's what it is essentially. So here's the thing. Finance, it's very difficult to make finance fun and exciting and, all of that. Finance tends to be a pretty boring, dry topic, right? So when we're talking about finance, and we are talking about it from the perspective of most of us are coming from, poverty or lower middle income households, and we're trying to make money fast, fast, fast. And we're still at a $50,000 job. So we're trying to make money, in any way possible. The only thing that sounds great to us oftentimes is this borderline fraudulent, if not completely fraudulent information. Where is me coming to you saying, look, you're at $50,000 now. The first thing I want you to invest in is getting a higher paying skill, which means I need you to sit down for this certification for the next 3 months, take these classes, learn this information, learn how to network in the tech world, multicultural network, learn how to answer the questions appropriately when you are on an interview, learn the game that way. And that way we can get you from 50,000 to $80,000 salary. Well, most people don't want to do that. They don't want to go dark mode and make that happen. That's why, True Mystique, I always applaud you when I'm talking to the ladies about what you did with your prompt engineering certificate from Vanderbilt through Coursera, Vanderbilt University. That's an impressive thing. But are we going to go dark mode in order to make that happen? Right? Because that's not the sexy thing to talk about. That's not the fun thing to talk about. I can't just go in and run the play with what I just said with regards to how to get from 50,000 to 80,000 to 100,000 to 120,000, 130,000. That play, quote unquote, may take you 3, 4, 5 years to complete. Growing a business, a true business, not a hustle, but a business, will take you about 5 years really to get it up and running and churning and moving. And everybody on social media is sitting here like, in 3 months, I went from homeless to $1.2 million in savings. Come on. It doesn't happen that way. But unless I've got my boobs out and I'm 25 years old and I'm telling you how to run the play, nobody's over here paying attention. And not that I necessarily want or need them to, because it's not important to me. But we don't want to do the things that in fact, if I see a channel that's really popular, I oftentimes won't engage with it. If I see a Black channel, say, and this is a sad thing to say, It's a sad thing to say. If I see a Black financial channel that has hundreds of thousands of people watching it, I most likely will not pay attention to it because most of the time they're on some foolishness. On some foolishness. So, um, you are asking here, how does underwriting work with merchant card processor accounts like Clover? Is it similar? So, no. So I know a little bit about the merchant account world. And what they do is it depends on like what merchant service you're going through, but most of the merchant services these days are pretty much the same with regards to um, it's when somebody comes into your store with a Visa or a MasterCard, they swipe the card through, and the underwriters there, number one, want to make sure that you don't have like serious overdrawn accounts personally or in your business, right? Are you just a basic good steward of money? And they will like want to know where the money is supposed to go. They also will want to make sure that if any chargebacks happen, chargebacks is just if I have a charge on my card, I call my bank and I say I didn't make this charge, that they will reverse it. Well, Clover will come into your account as a business and take that money out of your account. That's called a chargeback. So they'll take the money out of your account and give it back to me, right? So the underwriters really just care that you are above board with your business, that personally you don't have a lot of financial issues. Not that you don't have any, but just that you're not, they used to call it bouncing checks all over the place, but you don't have like a perpetual negative account. And you're basically able to get a merchant account like that. That's how the underwriting works with that. So you're saying here that's crazy not wanting to sit down for a few months in order to make an extra 20K. I know. I know. I can't explain. It's not sexy. It's not running the play. So finance is rather dry, but also about one-sixth of adults in our community are actual felons. The person who advised the foolishness allegedly has that background. So instead of stepping up, I think you had something else in here, but yeah. So I don't know about, I have heard of a lot of these financial gurus having records. I have heard that. Um, I think just like preachers, the Umar Johnson effect, then, and I know that Umar is not a felon, at least that's my understanding. He's not. But that Umar Johnson effect of we want to be entertained. We want to be entertained. Cherie, understands that the more entertaining my financial person is, the more likely they're full of crap. That's why I also stopped following Grant Cardone. I used to like Grant Cardone back in 2015, 2016 when he was drier. He always had a little bit of spice, but he was drier at the time. But then he pivoted and decided he wanted to hang out with rappers and he wanted to, do all sorts of foolishness. And I was out. I want my finance people to be boring men and women. Because the truth is, long term financial success is boring. It's boring. You're saying focus is hard. Trust me, it is hard. That's why so few people can actually do it. That's why people will praise you when you do something like that, because it's hard. The problem is that people want things on easy mode. That's not possible to have a good quality of life. It's true. You just need to pick your hard. That's true. Do the hard things now so you can have a better quality of life later, or take the easy road now and have a harder quality of life later when you can't do much. That's true. The worst thing you can be is old, sick, and broke. The worst thing you can be is old, sick, and broke. And you're saying, don't be sorry, tell the truth. Well, I had to say it tonight. I had to say it. With that, don't forget the thumbs up as we all are heading out of here. Hope you have a great weekend. I will most likely see you tomorrow for Small Business Saturday. In the meantime, thanks so much and talk to you later. Take care. Bye.